yeah. We're back. Another episode of The Streak, the June 2024 installment of The Streak. It is Sweet Lizzy Project. I am your host and storyteller each and every episode, Drake Riggs, here to keep it going. And my goodness, you guys, for this one, well, a lot has changed. If you're watching on YouTube, then you can see we've changed the look. We have cleaned up the face a little bit, and just a lot of things happening in the world, in my world specifically. But I was gonna say, it is crazy that we have reached the June 2024 edition of this podcast, because it is June 2025 in real time, and at the time of release it will be June 20th. My goodness, so close to the exact date, because that Sweet Lizzy Project show was June 22nd. Holy shit, look at that timing. How about that? Didn't plan for any of that whatsoever. But we are here for this episode and looking back on a full year ago. And my goodness, what a year it has been. What a year of time. Fully living in Memphis in a full year's time span. Right about almost a couple days, I think it'll be. I think I got here the 19th or something last year. Jeez, that is crazy to fucking say. But we will be talking about that. This will be a little bit of a weirder, different episode. Maybe a shorter one. I don't know. Because typically, you know how if you are a reoccurring listener, you know that we kick off usually. It's one of the first things for the show with the first song that we heard. But the first song we heard by the band, the story of that is kind of integrated into everything how we got to the show, pretty much. So this is kind of this should be a jam-packed storytelling episode, because last June I was just like kind of getting my memories all resurfaced here before I started recording and looking at the calendar of June 2024, and there was a fucking lot of shit that happened that I did in that month as we were getting ready to drive across the country many miles, and just kind of the stuff before that and after that, of course, and that whole process by itself. My goodness, a lot always happening, really. But hope everybody is doing well. So I guess just let's kind of get into it. I mean, at this time, I was feeling pretty ready to get moving, just kind of to get it over with. So it was a very bittersweet kind of time, and especially I remember specifically those last 2 weeks before. So the first 2 weeks of like June, I had to, make sure I got in an interview with the one and only American gangster, Chael P. Sonnen, UFC Hall of Famer, multiple-time title challenger, down in, the mean streets of West Lynn before heading on my way. And the timing lined up perfectly, really, just in terms of him coming out of retirement to do another fight, quote unquote, quotation marks on it, a boxing match, ultimately a sparring match is what it turned into with his greatest rival, Anderson Silva. Some of you will have no idea what I'm talking about, but you don't need to, because that's besides the point. Either way, was going to catch up with Chael, which was phenomenal and ended up being one of my favorite interviews, honestly, that I've probably ever done, and one of my favorite stories I got to do, just really going through the time machine with him for about like 30 minutes after he got done training. that whole scene was just kind of, that was a crazy, crazy day. That was a crazy day, but it was very interesting and made me feel better about moving, even though I had already obviously committed to the plan of moving. But, you know, having to drive down there to see him and everything, I don't think I had been that far south into Oregon, and especially that area, since I don't think I had. I'm pretty confident. Maybe once for, I have no idea what, but I hadn't been down there since, you know, I was with Mystique, the Evil X. And so, like, I ended up driving by where she used to live and, you know, where I used to go visit all the time. And it's just like, you get this very, it didn't hit me at first, or I didn't realize I was passing it, but I just started to feel like this very strange feeling come over me. Like, subconsciously, my mind was realizing where we were and the energy of what had all transpired in the area, and it just made me feel like super unexplainably uneasy. And just, it's kind of crazy to have, I don't want to say the muscle memories, because I just got really tense and kind of uncomfortable, but like, for your body and your mind to maybe realize that without you processing it in the moment was a very, very wild and unique experience. And I could kind of just imagine that moment now, but like, energy is real. I'm a firm believer in that, and especially when it's, you know, kind of location based. I mean, not even that, I would say, but yeah, you know, people obviously give off energies. I think I'm a very firm believer in that. But locations can as well, especially if you have histories there. So I was like, ugh, really uneasy, but we got through it, and I was like, all right, we can shake that off and leave it in the dust for a year until we come back in a couple months. So yeah, this is full circle to get to this episode here, 2 months before we head back for a little bit, or, you know, maybe who knows how long. I still have yet to decide on what we're doing next with the living situation, but we are going to be heading back from Memphis soon. So let's just talk about that, I guess. The move to Memphis, really the road trip, the journey. Was a lot smoother, I guess, than I would have expected and could have hoped for. But really not. I didn't have too many great stories from the actual trip, you know, just going by myself and taking the car and taking your life packed into your car across the country in several states. That ideally that shouldn't be eventful. Ideally, you know, if you're going straight there, which was what I did, rather than, you know, making stops and making a big fucking trip out of it. But the things that stood out to me most were like, you know, getting to see these parts of the country that I had never seen before, and specifically like the drive was totally fine and like wonderful until I think it was leaving Utah. Everything after Utah was just the same, the flattest piece of ground you've ever seen. Like, that was rough. That was very, very difficult to get through the stretch that was after Utah, which makes sense, right? I mean, with nothing interesting to look at out there. Some crazy scenes, though, in terms of just like how it puts things into perspective, how fucking big and flat, again, that the middle of the country is. And it also makes you think like, yeah, there's not the population issue. That is a complete bullshit conspiracy. There's plenty of fucking land. Plenty of space on Earth for people. I'm half joking, but obviously there's a lot of things that go into that. But the most eventful thing that really did happen along the way was, I want to say it was in Lincoln, Nebraska. I know it was Nebraska. I don't remember if it was Lincoln or not, but stayed the night on one of the final nights, the second or last night before making it. I think it might have been the last night. But I went to, I think I got pizza for dinner. Yeah, I got pizza for dinner I thought it was a pizza shop, right? You're just looking at the map, and I was at a hotel off the highway, right? I'm not going to go deep into a city. Just there to sleep. We're just making a stop to rest and get back on the road. That's all it's about. And go to this pizza place that is also like half bar. It's like really tiny. It was just a bar that had pizza, but had like a pizza name, and then it was also in a motel-y hotel type. I don't even know how to fucking describe it. I don't remember what it's called. I could probably find it if I looked hard enough. I did not before this because I didn't put all together how kind of ridiculous this spot looked, but went there, had the pizza. There was another guy there. I think it was just us, just this dude who was from somewhere on the East Coast, one of the Carolinas, I think, or whatever. Not a super old dude. He might have been like 50 or something. I don't remember, but he had already been drinking, and I was just there to get the pizza. He's talking with the bartender the whole time. Older dude. He was from another city a little bit, like an hour away or whatever, and had lived there his whole life, whatever. Really got to know these people, right? And then, the guy was really friendly, and he just started chatting with me and was being cool and convinced me to start drinking with him. So we had a couple drinks. I think we drank until the place closed, which was like not very long after, so I didn't get fucked up or anything. But it's hilarious because like this was last year. Right? This was last year. I'm going to be 30 in 4 months. So, I would have been 28 at that time? Yeah. 28 this time last year. And I remember being in the middle of hanging out, drinking a little bit. I maybe had like 2 or 3. It really was not that much. But my mom was texting me like, really trying to being cautious, like, be careful. I'm like, Mom, you fucking, one, you know how old I am, and two, you know that this is like not the first time I've traveled in my life. Like, I've done plenty of traveling in my 20s, so I'm calling you out on this episode, Mom. If you end up seeing this, I know that Dad probably will, so he will tell you about it, me calling you out. But yeah, that was funny from that night. I think there are some jokes that were made that I will not say on this episode, but cool dude. Shout out to that guy from Lincoln. I remember we ended up talking about MMA and stuff, and it was just kind of funny. He said that like one of his friends was like really into it, and then he texted him and asked me if I knew yada yada and funny stuff. So that was interesting. It's always kind of, when you're out there in places like that, to have people that even know something about fighting is impressive. So there was that. And then we got to Memphis, the day after, I believe it was. That might have been a 9-hour drive from what I remember. Again, a little bit blurry on the exact timeline of stops and whatnot there, but yeah. So then let's get to the Sweet Lizzy project, right? How did we get there? So with all this that was happening, right, I was not overly worried about the streak coming to an end relatively as early as it would have if it did that month. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, there's got to be something I can find, right? But I got all these things going on. We'll see. I'll find something when I get there. And got there, and I'm kind of looking. I'm like, there really isn't much going on. There is really not too much going on. and it ended up getting to like the following. Let me see here. What was it? Yeah, the following week. Oh no, it was that same week. It was the same week that I had got to Memphis on like Friday, Saturday, towards the weekend. I was like, all right, I'm going to go out, but let's see if there's anything happening that could be music related, something like that, something decently big or whatever. And so this is like the summertime, and they have there's a big park maybe like 20 minutes away from me, Overton Park. And I don't know if they're still doing it this year right now, but last year they were doing this concert series in this big dome-ish, it's called the Overton Shell, kind of like a big sound stage, or just a big stage for whatever they want to put there. So they were having concerts there, and it was free for the summer, and I was like, oh, well, that's pretty fucking perfect. Who's playing, though? Like, what kind of music? Because I wasn't feeling that desperate. I was like, I could probably find something with a couple weeks left. Looked it up, saw that it was Sweet Lizzy Project. I was like, all right, well, let's listen to a song. This was like an hour before the show started. I'm like, let's listen to a song and let's see how they sound, if I will enjoy this. And I turned on No Place to Call Home, which coincidentally was the tour titled after that song. And I was like, all right, pretty fucking good. I am pretty impressed. Let's go check it out. Went there, invited Tanner and his girlfriend. They showed up a little bit later, once the sun started dying down. But you got the sun and the night. You got the day and the night crossover for the show, and they fucking killed it. I was really happy that I went to go see them. This band that I had just discovered an hour before seeing. Not that was kind of a crazy revelation or anything to have seen a new band for the first time like that, but they are very, very good, actually. And from Cuba, I believe, at least the lead singer is, who I believe is also named Lizzy. I still don't know a whole lot about them, but I believe they're also based in Nashville. They were giving us some info during the show. And I kind of wish that it would have been more packed for it and everything. It was kind of, very open and spacious, and it got more filled out as the night went on. But sorry, I was turning off the heater there for a quick second. Don't ask me why that was on in the summertime. But yeah, no, they were phenomenal. It was really fun to hear the one song that I had known of theirs immediately after hearing it and hearing it played in person. Great stage presence. I'm big on how the bands and performers interact with the crowd, how they command the crowd, how they take control of the stage, all these things. Those were kind of all the same. I just said all the same things in different ways, didn't I? But yeah, they were great. I would 100% see Sweet Lizzy Project again. I think they've been doing well since, this past year, I guess you could say. Obviously have some non-English songs, which is always cool too. Because again, like I said, Cuban. But a great old time, and it was really fun too. They did a cover of Pink Floyd. Is it Brick in a Wall? What is the song called? What is the popular song? And don't make fun of me for not knowing the name of that song off the top of my head. What is it? I gotta look now. Pink Floyd. You know the one. Yeah, it is another Brick in the Wall, right? Okay. I thought so. I'm not crazy. But yeah, they did the cover of that song, which was really cool. They have a great version of it. It was a good show. It was a good show, and they had, a big full set. I don't think there was an opener. I don't remember. I don't think so. They have nothing on the tour poster here, which that's a good sign, and I don't remember one. Just kind of got right to it, so they had plenty of time to play a shitload of songs. And it was a good old time. And then I think that was the same night right after that. We went out on the town and found some nightclubs that were very Memphis. I will say that. They were very Memphis. And again, this is like this. We've barely been there, so we're exploring and being like, all right, we're seeing what this place is all about. And we ended up getting pretty fucking drunk. I felt pretty good by the end of that show, and that was the first and only time that I've ever had Waffle House. Was that night, actually. So it has been about a year since I've had Waffle House, because that was the only place that was open, and it was like the Waffle House was literally right across the road from the nightclub we were at. So that gives you a good indicator of this city. I will just say that. But I honestly, I will say from what memories that both Tanner and I have, it was fucking amazing. Our food was great, but we were also pretty hammered. So take that into consideration. I don't know if I want to have it again, whether it's drunk or not, just to not ruin that first experience. Because that one and only time at Waffle House was pretty goddamn good. And I can't imagine it's like gonna be better a second time. So yeah. That's pretty much like all I can say about it, though. About that show. Just Sweet Lizzy Project fucking rules. They're great. I think they deserve to be bigger, and will probably just continue to grow. Very fun band. And yeah, I kind of, it's one of those cases where you wish you knew about them more before seeing them, but you're glad it worked out the way it did. So with all that in mind, I did end up seeing, like, I think it was right after, like maybe the day after, that fucking, this is an incredibly deep cut. MC Chris, if anybody on the planet who listens to this, the 5 people who know who that is, he was coming to Memphis the week after, so I bought tickets. They were like $20. Or bought a ticket, I should say. And if you do know him, you will know him because of the one song that he had that was in Zack and Miri Make a Porno, that movie with Seth Rogen and was it Elizabeth Banks, I think was Miri. That was, he had his big single hit song was in that. I was like, that will probably be a hilarious show to go to. And he's been around me like 2 or 3 times since then, and I haven't gone to see him. I would have gone to that show as well in June, but that was the same night as Invicta. What number was that? Invicta 55 in Kansas City. I was like, all right, we're here. We're here in the south-ish now, in this city where we can drive to other cities fairly conveniently, even though it was a 9-hour drive, and I kind of regret it, actually, because I also got a speeding ticket that on the way back. So that's what I missed MC Chris for. But no, I do. That was a. I honestly don't remember what happened at that Invicta event. So there we go. Probably wasn't worth it. Nice to say I went, I guess, but wasn't as memorable as the second Invicta event that I went to in Atlanta. Was that in December? And I remember some of the fights on that one, but I barely remember anything about Invicta 55. So yeah, that was pretty much June 2024. Very eventful, but some of the memories get a little bit lost in that case. Jeez. Oh my goodness. I stayed in a very, very pretty sketchy motel for that night. Did not sleep at all. That's why I got the speeding ticket. It was because I fucking was running off of like not a lot of sleep and not good sleep. So I was just like, oh, get me the fuck out of here. Yeah. Driving back after that, I remember now, was very terrible. Very rough. Very rough time. But we did make it. At a price. So I think that about does it for the June 2024 episode of the streak, or the June 2024 section. I don't know, episode, fucking whatever. And then that'll bring us to July, which July is also fun stories for that one. This is where these next two, you guys, I'm telling you, the August one in particular. Let me think. Yeah. August has this last summer. I'm realizing now that the streak almost ended multiple times, but I'm very proud. I'm very proud that it did not end a year ago, but it had some close calls. I will tell you that. The August one, I'm very excited to talk about. There's some great stories with that one. Yeah, but for July, though, before we get there, you can look forward to hearing about Primus and Coheed and Cambria. And that was the same show. Primus and Coheed and Cambria, you guys. And everything that happened around that. So, on that note, we will wrap it up. Another one down in the streak. We are catching up. At this rate, I don't remember when I started this podcast. When we started talking about this, let me see. I kind of want to see the rate that we will be catching up at. Because we got to a year ago pretty relatively quickly. Let's see. The first episode of the streak was in January. So, I mean, I guess it took us 6 months. I guess it took 6 months. So at this rate, and that was a year. That was a year's worth, roughly. So by the end of the year, it's going to take us a while to catch up. That's why I did this bi-weekly. If my math is right there, but either way, doesn't fucking matter. All right. I appreciate you guys so much, as always, for listening in or watching, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify, whether it was your first time or you're a repeat listener, or if you're just a Sweet Lizzy Project fan. I'm sorry to disappoint you for not having footage, which I'm sure is where a lot of the views have been coming from on the podcast for some of these band episodes. So I apologize, and if you made it this far, then you probably aren't one of the people I'm talking about, so you get an extra round of applause. You can follow me at DrakeRiggs _ Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to the channel. You know the drill. Until the next one, you guys. Peace.
Let's hide and seek. If doors are locked, and don't be shy, go out. They will break your heart, it's the way.
Your darkest thoughts your deepest fears, your nightmares scream, your lies.